Welcome to another Fast Tips video brought to you by AccessLearningZone.com. I am your instructor, Richard Rost. In today's video, I'm going to show you how to compact your database using VBA. So since we're using VBA, this is a developer tip. So if you've never done any VBA programming before, go watch my intro to VBA lesson. It'll teach you everything you need to know about VBA programming in about 20 minutes just to get you started. Don't be scared of VBA. It's not scary. Now, if you don't know what compacting and repairing your database is, then this video is not for you. Go watch this video. It's my older compact and repair video. I'll teach you exactly what compacting and repairing is, what's it all about, why it's important, why you should do it on a regular basis. Go watch this first, then come on back. And also, this video is more geared toward people who have a split database solution where you got a front end and a back end. Because if you only got one database file, that's pretty easy just to go, database tools, compact and repair once a week or so, and you're done. But it's a pain if you've got a bunch of back end files that you have to compact as well. So in this video, I'll teach you how to make a button where you can click it and it'll just compact your back end file. And if you don't know what I'm talking about there as far as back end database files goes, watch this video. I'll put links to all this stuff down below. They're all free. They're on my YouTube channel. They're on my website. Go watch them and come on back. Okay, when it comes to compacting your database with VBA, there are two methods you can use. There's CompactRepair, which is the older one, and there's CompactDatabase, which is the newer one. First thing you gotta do is make sure everyone's out of the database. This will not work if the database file is open. So schedule this to go off at Sunday at 4 a.m. when no one's in the office, or run around and make sure everyone's out of the database. Now, Application.CompactRepair has been around for a while. The pro is it actually is a function, so it'll return a true if it's successful and a false if not. You can, handle that accordingly. The con is it doesn't work with passworded files. So if you have a password on your back end, then you cannot use CompactRepair. You have to use the second method, which is DBEngine.CompactDatabase. This will work with password protected files. In fact, you can even use this to change the password. It's kind of weird. But it doesn't return an error level. You can do error handling around it. You can trap an error and then do something accordingly. But that's one of the reasons I like CompactRepair is it just gives you a true false if it's successful or not. This is the newer one, and I've actually seen with some instances of corruption where you're using CompactRepair to repair the database. I've actually seen CompactDatabase fix problems that CompactRepair couldn't. So there's slightly different technologies at work. But for the purposes of this video, we're just talking about the compacting part, because repairing, hopefully you never have to do the repair. All right, so here on my system, I've got my Tech Help Free template as my front end, and I've got this BE set up as a fake backend. We're going to pretend that's my backend file, the one that I'm compacting. Your front end, you can just compact it whenever you want to, because you're using it. The back end, people always forget about it because it sits on the server and no one ever touches it, and it's a pain to sometimes remember have to go in there once a week or once a month and compact it, so you put a little button in your front end, right? So when I open this guy up, made myself a little button right here, right? Let's take a look at the code in the button, design view, right click, build event. Now the easy part of all this is the compact and repair. All you really need is that right there. Application.CompactRepair, source, destination, and then I said false. This third parameter here is for logging, if you want to log anything that it does, any errors and stuff. But I almost never do that. So I got a couple variables up here, right? Source and destination. There's my source file. Now the destination, the thing with CompactRepair is it can't compact repair the file onto itself. So what you actually have to do is compact into a new file, then delete the old one, and then rename the compacted one. So the compact part is the easy part. It's all the stuff that goes with it that can be tricky. So the first thing that I do right here is I back up the original file. Always, always back up your file before doing a compact and repair. Right, this guy. It's my age-old slide to remind you to back up. Back up your stuff. You should be running backups every night, and if not, go watch my backup video. Right, there's the link right down there. Go watch it. So this line will use file copy to copy the source file to a backup file. Now this backup file is going to be the same name as the source file, right? And it's going to be .backup. And then the date and time formatted like that. So YYYYMMDD, whatever. All right, so whenever you run this, you're going to get an extra copy of the backup file. So you got to remember to go in and delete these, otherwise they'll start filling up your hard drive. Okay? You can just call it .backup.1.1.2, whatever, if you want to. That's up to you. Okay, now we're going to check to see if that destination file, the compacted, right, if that exists, we have to delete it. The only way that should exist is if it failed the previous time and just didn't delete itself, or didn't get renamed, because we're going to rename it in a minute. Okay, then we perform the actual compact. That's that there. CompactRepair will return a result, which is a Boolean. Then we check to see if it's good or bad. If it's true, if result is true, we have a success. Kill the source file. That deletes your original file. Okay, be very careful. Then we're going to rename the destination as the source. In other words, take the new compacted database and call it what the original backend file name was. And then that's my status function, success. Just put status in this little status box here. Okay, and if not, if this isn't good, then put in there a fail. And the original file should not have been touched. So you should be okay at that point. Okay, and now if I come back out here, save it. Let's open up the main menu, give it a run. Click. It's doing its thing. All right, it happened really fast, and it deposited these on my other screen because this isn't my primary monitor. But as you can see here now, I've got a new copy of my backend database, which, yes, it compacted correctly, and I got this backup file. Now, if you have to restore this guy, just get rid of everything after ACCDB, and then Access will recognize it as an Access file. That's just putting a time date stamp on the extension there. But if you're sure everything's good, you can delete these guys. You don't need those around. And then that's pretty much it. Now you got a compacted backend. Now, if you got a password protected backend, you got to use a different method. You can't use this CompactRepair. All right, so let me remark all this stuff out here, because you can't return the result either. All right, so what you have to do in that case is you have to use DBEngine.CompactDatabase. That guy. All right, source name is still your source. Destination is still your destination, so DEST. Then you got destination locale, which you can use it to specify your location, some other stuff. I'll put a link down below to Microsoft's website. They tell you all those different things, what locale can be. So here's locale. You got the Arabic and Cyrillic and Czech and all this different stuff. Okay, but you use the locale parameter for specifying the password. Why they did it this way, I don't know. So you can see here they specify the password. It's got to be after a semicolon and then PWD equals and whatever your password is. All right, so in here, you can leave destination locale alone and options leave alone. Again, there's all kinds of stuff in there that you'll never use. Well, probably never use. All right, source locale is where you put the password for the source file. Okay, so it'd be semicolon PWD equals whatever your password, 599CD, whatever you want to call it. And that will then compact the database with that password, and it will keep the password in the new database. You can actually change that password by doing this and copying that into this destination locale one and changing it. That will now change the password. Or you can actually remove the password if you do that. Yeah, it's weird, I know. I didn't make it, I'm just telling you how it works. But now the downside is this is a method, it's not a function, so it doesn't return a value, so you have to wrap this inside of error handling if you want to see if this guy throws an error, and then you can do this stuff accordingly. Want to learn more about error handling? There you go, there's a video for you. So this is primarily why I don't usually use passwords on my back-end databases, because all of my important stuff, my customer details and order information and anything with, like, you know, credit card numbers and that kind of stuff, sensitive stuff, I store in SQL Server, which is secure. The only back-end files I have are unimportant things like email lists and that kind of stuff. That's not really a big deal if it gets in the wrong hands. But if you do have a password on your database, you have to use that. I'll leave that in there so when I put this in the code vault that you guys can see the other line, but that's what I like to do right there. I know, this one just seems to work smoother too. Maybe it's just me. Now, what if you got a whole bunch of backend files? You got 10, 15 of them? I got a lot of them because I put different tables inside of different files. That's the way I've always done it. You can loop through the all the files in the folder and compact them individually. I cover how to do that in my Access Developer 31 class, where we actually loop through all of the files in a folder, and then I actually show you how to compact those back-end files. I also cover those functions like dir, file copy, kill, and all that cool stuff. And I also just released this template called the Access Compactor that does all this stuff for you. It's already coded in. You can have it so it will automatically start. You can launch it from your existing front-end database. When it opens up, it'll compact all the files in your backend, make backup copies of them. It'll shut down when it's done, write a log file out, and then launch your original database back. That's great if you've got like a front end that runs 24/7 doing stuff like mine does. So that's the Access Compactor template. Check it out. It's on my website. There's a link. I'll put a link down below. And there you go. There's your fast tip for today. As you can see, compacting your database using VBA is pretty simple. You really only need one line of code. But it's all the stuff that goes with it that can get a little complicated, right? Making copies, making backups, renaming stuff, looping through files, all that. So the actual compact itself is easy. It's the packaging that is sometimes tough. But I hope this video helped. I hope you learned something, and we'll see you next time. If you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up and post any comments you may have. I do try to read and answer all of them as soon as I can. Make sure you subscribe to my channel, which is completely free, and click on the bell icon to select all to receive notifications when new videos are posted. Make sure you click the Show More link down below the video to find additional resources and links. You'll see a list of other videos, additional information related to the current topic, free lessons, and lots more. YouTube no longer sends out email notifications when new videos are posted, so if you'd like to get an email every time I post a video, click on the link to join my mailing list. Even if you don't want to become a member, feel free to donate to my tip jar. Your patronage is greatly appreciated and will help keep these free videos coming. I got puppies to feed. How do you become a member? Click on the Join button below the video. After you click the Join button, you'll see a list of all the different membership levels that are available, each with its own special perks. Silver members and up will get access to all of my extended cut tech help videos, one free beginner class each month, and more. Gold members get access to download all of the sample databases that I build in my tech help videos, plus my code vault, where I keep tons of different functions that I use. You'll also get a higher priority if you decide to submit any tech help questions to me, and you'll get one free expert class each month after you finish the beginner series. Platinum members get all the previous perks, plus even higher priority for tech help questions, access to all of my full beginner courses for every subject, and one free developer class each month after you finish the expert classes. These are the full-length courses found on my website, not just for Access too. I also teach Word, Excel, Visual Basic, and lots more. You can now become a Diamond sponsor and have your name or company name listed on a sponsors page that will be shown in each video as long as you're a sponsor. You'll get a shout out in the video and a link to your website or product in the text below the video and on my website. But don't worry, these free tech help videos are going to keep coming. As long as you keep watching them, I'll keep making more, and they'll always be free. Now, if you have not yet tried my free Access Level 1 course, check it out now. It covers all the basics of Microsoft Access. It's over 4 hours long, and I just updated it for 2021. You can find it on my website or on my YouTube channel. I'll include a link below that you can click on. And also, if you like Level 1, Level 2 is just $1. Yep, that's all, $1, and it's free for all members of my YouTube channel at any level, even supporters. Want to have your question answered in a video just like this one? Visit my tech help page on my website. You can send me your question there. While you're on my site, feel free to stop by the Access Forum. Lots of good conversations happening there. Be sure to follow my blog, find me on Twitter, and of course, YouTube. Once again, my name is Richard Ross. Thank you for watching this tech help video brought to you by AccessLearningZone.com. I hope you enjoyed this video and that you learned something today. I'll see you again soon.